सहनः भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयम् यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। दृश्यत्वादहमित्येषः नात्मधर्मो घटादिवत् तथान्ये प्रत्यया ज्ञेयाः दोषाश्चात्मामलोह्यतः। सर्वप्रत्ययसाक्षित्वात् अविकारी च सर्वगः विक्रियेत यदि द्रष्टा बुद्ध्यादिवाल्पविद् भवेत्। The teacher here is describing how to contemplate upon the self by the method of the Atma Anatma Viveka, because we constantly think about the self anyway. We cannot but be aware of the self, except that the self that we are aware of is a union of Atma and Anatma. Although we have said that Atma shines as subject, Anatma shines as object, so they are two. Atma is a different entity. Both of them shine in different locus also. So there is no union between them, there is no relation between Atma, there is no relation with Anatma. But what is happening is somehow we lump them together, and that's why the thought of Atma is always accompanied by or influenced by the thought of Anatma. And therefore Atma is taken to be as limited, as changing, as impure as Anatma. So it is possible to see that the changes, modifications, impurities, they all belong. They are someplace, they are in Anatma, they are shining as the object, as karma and not as karta. This is the Viveka basically. And this alone is being now described in different ways. Aham, beginning with aham iti eshaha na atma dharma. In the verse 16 it said, aham. Even this aham, the sense of aham, the individuality, the I-ness. Which I-ness? The I-ness that separates me from you-ness. That's I-ness. That's called aham. Oh, that's what we call aham. So usually what we think when we use this pronoun aham is this the I which is possessed of the sense of individuality, which separates it or separates me from everything that is non-I. So in my mind the divisions of I and non-I are there. That's how I know the I. But that kind of I cannot be Atma, cannot be a true nature. Why is it so? Drishyatvat, because you are aware of that I. I am aware of the sense of individuality. That's very important. When I think of myself, I think myself so and so always, some dharma, some attribute is always associated with I as man, woman, tall, short, happy, unhappy, etc. So in I also, there is one element that is drishya. The whole I is not drishya. In I also is one element that is drishya and one element that is drashta. So drishyatvad, whatever is drishya, in the I also drishyatvad, whatever is drishya, meaning the man, woman, tall, short, good, bad, individual, the excluded self, the excluding self, this is all the known thing. This is what I know. Drishyatvat. So all of that cannot be the true nature of I, the subject. Na Atma Dharma. And so, this individuality, this being happy, unhappy, this one being excluding, so excluding others, this is a theme repeatedly told by Vedanta. Who looks upon Brahmana as Brihadaranyaka says also, Maitri Brahmana, he is ousted by the Brahmana. When I say Brahmana is different from me, then I am also rejected. So this of duality, there is always a ninda or a condemnation of duality or sense of division or separatedness. For the very simple reason that it is that which is the cause of all our unhappiness or sorrow. Because for sorrow there is no reason for us. There should not be any sorrow or grief in our life. There should be nothing but happiness in our life. That being the case, to feel sorry is something that is wrong, not right, which can be corrected. So then this correction is being told, na Atma Dharma, the I, the sense of individuality, that separates me from others, that creates a sense of limitedness in all the consequent complexes. That's not I. Tatha anya pratyaha, jnayaha, doshaha cha. Any other notions about the self, any dosha, ragadvesha, impurity, I think I am, they also cannot be I. Ataha amalaha, therefore Atma amalaha, the I is ever pure. Sarva pratyaya sakshitvat avikari cha sarvagaha. Sarva pratyaya sakshitvat, whatever pratyayas are there, whatever thoughts or notions which arise in the mind, I am aware of them. Notions about myself also. Kartaham, bhoktaham, sukhiyaham, dukkhiyaham. About this also I am aware. Therefore, Sarva Pratyaya, I am the Sakshi, the witness of all these Pratyayas, all these notions, conclusions, opinions, which are all subject to Vikara or change, and therefore I am the Sakshi of all the Vikaras, therefore Avikari. And I am the witness of all the Pratyayas, or thoughts or notions without exception, and therefore Sarvagaha. Because the Sakshi that I am, in Sakshi that anyone else is, in Sakshitvam or witnessness, there can be no difference. Because the witness has to be avikari. The witness of vikara, the changes, has to be changeless. So one changeless witness cannot be different from other changeless witness because there is nothing that distinguishes this witness from the other witness. Sarvagaha. This theme has been said many times. Then now continuing with the next verse. Well, second line, Vikriyeda yadi drashta. Drashta or the witness also is subject to change. Then buddhyadi iva. Then this drashta, that Atma is changing drashta, cannot be significantly different from buddhi, which are also drashta and changing drashta. So two kinds of drashtas are there, as the next verse also will say. One is buddhyadi, buddhi, mana, etc., which are also drashta, because they also objectify the respective objects. The buddhi may objectify the thoughts and the mind, the emotions and so forth. But they are changing drashta. Meaning that drashta, that buddhi undergoes change corresponding to the drishya. As drishya changes, drashta also changes. In that case, the drashta that existed a moment ago is not the drashta that exists now. And therefore this drashta cannot have knowledge of what transpired a moment ago. So, alpavid bhaved. Drashta such as buddhi is to be, has alpavit, not sarvavit. Therefore, if Atma also is a drashta that is changing, then moment to moment changing, therefore it doesn't know what transpired the moment before or what will come a moment later. In that case, it is a limited drashta. Meaning it can only illumine one thing at a time, not sarvagaha. Then Atma cannot be drashta that illumines everything, it can only illumine one thing at a time, like buddhi. In that case, it will be perishable. Then I will be perishable, and then knowing perishable self achieves nothing. So next verse is drashtuhu atmanopi buddhivad alpavitvam eva. Well, why not the Atma also be limited, a drashta, a limited drashta like buddhi? So alpavitvam, why not Atma also alpavit? The knower of the limited or limited knower. Alpam veti alpavit, he knows limited and therefore he is vikari, Atma also. Like buddhi. So Atma who is drashta is also vikari like buddhi, why not? Because any drashta or jnata has to be limited. Why? Sadhana adhinasya jnanasya sadhana adhinasya utpatti vinashavatvat. See, jnanam such as ghata jnanam, pata jnanam, matha jnanam is sadhana adhinam, meaning that ghata jnanam can take place provided the organ of perception, the eyes, the mind, all of these are involved. So pramanam has to be involved. And the mind which takes the form of the object is also to be involved. So, Ghatajnanam can take place only when the appropriate sadhanas or samagri or the means are there. So, therefore, Ghatajnanam takes place. Ghatajnanam is born as a result of the association of the mind with Ghata. When the mind emerges through the organ of eyes, the aperture of eyes. Therefore, it is Utpatti, therefore there is Vinasha. Ghatajnanam comes and goes. So, Utpatti Vinashavatvat. So, what is meant by Jnanam now? That is the thing. So, by Jnanam, do you mean Ghatajnanam, Patajnanam? Is this the kind of knowledge that Atma has? Buddhi is Alpavit. Buddhi is a knower of the limited thing and a limited knower also. Because Buddhi knows Ghata, Pata, etc., of which the Jnanam arises and subsides. And therefore, a knower like that also is Alpavit, is also limited. So our experience is that any drashta, any knower is also limited. Because it is a knower of the knowledge that takes place and subsides. So Atma also is drashta. So like Buddhi, Atma also Alpavit, knower of the limited or limited knower. If this is the question then. So now what is the nature of drashtutva Atma? Buddhi also is drashta, Atma also is drashta. Then if Atma is drashta like Buddhi, then Atma also is limited. Says no, then what kind of drashtutvam, the knowerness is there in Atma? That has to be clarified. So the verse 18 says, Na drishtirlupyate drashtuhu chakshurade yathaiva tate nai drashturite syuktam tasmad drashta sadaikadrika. Nahi drashtuhu drushti lupyate. So this drashta, there is Atma. The drashti or the knowing of the Atma, na lupyate, never ceases to be. He always knows. He is drashti. So drashta has a drashti. That's why it's called drashta. So this is a drashta who always sees, watches. He never ceases to watch. Buddhi is a drashta, eyes are all drashta, but they are watching now and not later. Because their awareness is dependent upon the happening of different phenomena, like the part object must be there, and then the vikara, the vritti must be there, and then chidavasa must be there, and so forth. But here is a drashta that does not require any of those things. If drashta requires pramanam, such as the organ of perception, and like mind also undergoes change in order for the darshanam to take place, then of course that is an impermanent drashta, anitya drashta. But there is a drashta which doesn't require eyes, ears, etc. Doesn't require mind also, doesn't require any sadhanam for seeing. That is a seeing of the nature of consciousness. So seeing of the nature of a vritti and seeing of the nature of just being consciousness. Means to see is the nature of Atma, therefore the seeing of the Atma never suffers cessation. To see is not the nature of Buddhi. Buddhi becomes the seer or drashta when certain conditions are satisfied. Because in deep sleep, Buddhi can be sleeping also. Waking state also, buddhi can be lost someplace and therefore may not see what is even in front of it. So, drashtutvam or seeingness of buddhi is subject to various conditions taking place. This is conditional drashta. Buddhi is conditional drashta, drashtu or drashtri. You can call it anitya drashta. Whereas seeing is the nature of Atma, therefore it cannot not but see. It's called nitya drashta. So there are two kinds of drashtis now. One is drashta, that is buddhi, of which the drashti is of the nature of the vritti, the cognition of an object, like ghatakara vritti. Atma is drashta, with the drashti is simply consciousness to shine, and therefore it can never not shine. Chakshurade yathaiva, just chakshu etc. are anitya drashta. So drashti of chakshu is not eternal. It can be there only when the sense organs are functioning, when the mind is behind it, when the object is there, when the contact takes place. Nahi drashtuhu iti uktam, because Upanishad says, Nahi drashtuhu drashtehe viparilopo vidyate avinashitvat. Tasmat drashta sada ekadruk. Therefore, this drashta, that is Atma, is sada ekadruk, always ekadrushti svabhava. To see is the nature of the Atma. So the Tika says, Yathaiva chakshuradi dvaraka drushti lupyate parinamitvat. Chakshuradi dvaraka drushti. Drushti is seeing or cognition that takes place through the dvara or the gateway of chakshu, etc., the sense organ, the perception of the objects such as ghatapata, etc. Lupyate, because that drashti arises and subsides parinamitvat. That drashti that is called ghatakara vritti is parinama. So the mind undergoes the parinam or change or transformation to take see in the form of ghata. And therefore, and that parinama or transformation takes place when certain conditions are satisfied, when those conditions do not exist, when pot is not there, when eyes are not watching, when the mind is not awake, then the drashti doesn't take place. So, lupyate, the seeing of the eyes, hearing of the ears, the thinking of the mind, all of this can be called drashti. But lupyate, all of that suffers a cessation because it is born and therefore it will die. Na tatha drashtu atmana drushti, there should be lupyate. But drashti of the Atma, the seeing of the Atma never ceases to be. Why? Aparinami Atma Swarupatvat, because there is Swarupa of the Atma. And Swarupa is that which never suffers a cessation. Fire will always be hot. The heat of the fire never suffers cessation. The brightness of sun never suffers cessation. The Swarupa never suffers cessation. So to see, to illumine, to shine is a Swarupa of the Atma, it can never not be. And that is, both of these are shown here with reference to deep sleep. Tad drushte nityatva is called nitya drashta. Nahi drashtuhu drushte viparilopo vidyate. This drashta, that is Atma, of which there is drashti, there is consciousness, never suffers cessation because it is Swarupa. The seeing is not Swarupa of the eyes. Hearing is not Swarupa of the ears. Seeing is not the Swarupa of the mind, otherwise they will constantly see. If seeing were the nature of eyes, then constantly seeing will take place. You'll get crazy. If hearing is the nature of ears, then you keep on hearing, There can be no peace. But you have a choice. You will fall asleep and cut off yourself from everything. Or plug your ears and cut off yourself from the sounds. So this anitya drishti, nitya drishti, Atma does not have freedom not to shine. You cannot switch off that bulb of Atma. This, all other bulbs can be switched off. Iti avinashitva. So there is avinashi drishti and vinashi drishti. This shrutyoktam ityartha, shrutyoktam. Yasmat pramana siddham. So because Shruti is a pramanam with reference to that word, since Shruti, that is pramanam, says that the drishti of the Atma is nitya, tasmat sada ekadruk, therefore Atma is sada ekadruk. What is ekadruk? Ekad drishti svabhava ityartha. That ekadrishti is the nature of Atma. So ekarupa drishti. That drishti, that is ekarupa, means the rupa never changes. Atma possesses a changeless drishti. Same kind of drishti all the time. Sadaika bhuk iti pathe. If that is a part, then bhungte pashyati iti bhuk. Then sada eka bhuk, sada eka sakshi ityartha hai. Always a sakshi. Meaning that Atma is a drashta possessing the eternal drishti. Whereas Buddhi is a drashta possessing the perishable or uneternal drishti, temporary drishti. Yasmad evam Atma Shuddha Svahava Visanna Upadi Sambandhat Anyatha Pratiyate. So now we understand. Yasmad evam, thus as shown in the previous verses, Atma Shuddha Svabhavapi Amalaha Atma, I am ever pure, Shuddha Svabhava, even though that is my nature. Upadi Sambandhat, because Sambandha, what Sambandha? Adhyasika Sambandha, because habitual identification takes place. We don't choose to identify. Upadi Sambandha is one of identification and not a sanyoga or a samvaya. Anyatha pratiyate. So like the iron appears to be red and hot because of the identification or tadatma with the fire, and fire appears round because of tadatma with the iron. So anyatha pratiyate. How tadatma creates the appearance of a thing appearing different from what it is. So Atma, even though Atma is nitya drishti, I think I am a nitya drishti. All anityata is all because of the so-called sambandha with the upadhi that is anitya. Tasmat, therefore the pratiyate, the ashuddhi, the anityata about the Atma, pratiyate, Atma appears to be impure. Atma appears to be impermanent. I think that I am impure, think I am perishable, I am mortal. That is only pratiti, meaning that is only a notion and not a reality. That is established now. So the previous verse it established that aham amala nitya shuddhoham, that I possess eternal drishti, the eternal consciousness I am. And still I find myself limited or perishable. That is because of the identification with anatma. Tasmat atmanam brahmatvena pratipattum. Therefore pratipattum, to know atma as atma is, which is Brahman or consciousness. Padartha vivekam kuryat mumukshu. So what should mumukshu do? Padartha vivekam kuryat. Viveka prusakkaranam. Padartha. Atma is padartha, anatma is padartha. So atma, anatma, viveka. Mumukshu should carry out prusakkaranam, separation of atma from anatma. Idyaha, this is what the now teacher tells us next. Sanghato vaiti. So next verse is Sanghato vasmi bhutanam karananam tathaiva cha yastam vanyatamo vasmi ko vasmi iti vicharayet. Sanghato vasmi bhutanam. Bhutanam sanghato vasmi. Am I the aggregate sanghata of all the elements? Bhuta, which is the gross body. Karanam sanghato tathaya. Or am I the aggregate of all the organs of perception, action, etc., sense organs? Vyastam va. Am I? If that is what, then am I one individual element or individual sense organ? Anyatamo, or one of them. Ko vasmiri, or who am I, or other than them, different from them. Iti vicharet. So this is how I appear to be. I appear to be sanghata. I appear to be the body. With sanghata, the assembly of the bhuta, of the elements. That the Tikakara explains anyway, so I am artha. The reason why these questions arise is, this is the meaning. Ahamiti tavat atma avabhasade. Atma avabhasade. Tavat, to begin with, atma ahamiti avabhasade. Atma always shines as aham, aham, aham. That is given. Sabhasamanaha aham manushya krushaha sthulaha ityado bhuta sangatmatmaka deharupa sphurati. So this Atma is like crystal, and crystal being transparent and pure will reflect any color that is placed in, beside it. And therefore, that's how crystal appears as red. So is redness, does it belong to crystal? Or what's the nature of crystal? So Atma appears as aham krushaha, aham sthulaha, I am lean, I am fat. Ityadu bhuta. So leanness is the nature of the body, which is bhuta sanghata. And fatness also is nature of body, which is bhuta sanghata, meaning the assembly of the elements, sthula shariyam. Bhuta sanghatmataka matmaka deha rupa sphurati. So Atma shines like I am lean, I am fat, I am human being, etc. That's how it shines. But Atma does not shine, but Atma is taken to be like that. Atma shines only as consciousness. They say the gross body, Bhuta Sangat, also shines along with that. And therefore the two are lumped together, and I conclude that Krushoham Sthula, the Krushatvam belongs to the gross body Sanghata, and then Sthulatvam belongs to the Sanghata, and I lump them together. I am doing it. But Vedanta teaches that it's not happening. I am doing it, therefore I can undo it. Otherwise, if it's happening by itself, I can't, there's nothing, no freedom I have. You follow? If Atma, in fact, unites with the body, in grossness of the Atma, the fatness and leanness of Atma, that is how Atma is shining. That is the nature of Atma, to shine like that, then there is nothing I can do. Here what is happening? I am making Atma shine as gross or as subtle or as fat or lean. I am doing that. The two entities, Atma and Anatma, which are unrelated, I am creating a relationship. So I am doing the adhyasa or superimpose, therefore I can do de-superimpose. You see? I am doing something and therefore I can undo that. It is not that it is happening that Atma shines as body, etc. Atma doesn't shine. Atma shines as Atma and body shines as body. I am lumping them together and then concluding that I am fat, I am lean. Well, it says, Eka Rupa Sfurati, Atma shines as Atma does not shine. I lump them together. It's not the crystal is shining as violet, etc. I am making crystal shine like that. Even if the crystal is shining, then also I have the freedom to recognize that the violet or the red belongs to something else. And the freedom to remove that violet and see the crystal as transparent and pure. So tadinamachyate sangato asmi bhutanam. Am I the bhutanam sangataha? Am I the aggregate of all the bhutas? That's the gross body. Karananam tathaivaja tatha. Ham drashta shrota rasayita. So that is I am the seer through the eyes, shrota, hearer through the ears, rasayita, taster through the palate or the tongue. Karanaham, that I am one-eyed to the eyes, badiraha, I am deaf to the ears. And thus the attributes of the organs of perception and organs of action are habitually superimposed. Karaneshu api aham ullekho drishyate. So not only the association of Atma with gross body is seen, but also seen along with the aggregate of the subtle body, that is sense organs of action, perception. Atha karnanam tathaivacha atha karna sangato asmi. Who am I? Am I the aggregate of the sense organs? Then vyastam va anyatamo vasmi ko vasmi iti vicharayet. Vyastam, individual. Samastam, the groups. So total. Vyasti, samasti. Individual and the assembly of all of them. So vyastam va tatrapi pruthak eva. Vyastam means what? Individual. Pruthak eva ahankara darshanat. Because now I see myself as drashta. That means that I am connected with the eyes, and then I see Shrota, and then I see Manta, and Vijnata, and Badhiraha, and Kanaha. So, Pusak Eva Ahankara Darshana, I find Ahankara changing, and thus different Ahankaras are there. Therefore, am I Drashta, or Shrota, or Manta, or Kanaha, or Badhiraha? Ekam Chendriyam Asmi. Am I the eyes? Am I the ears? Am I the legs? Etc. Athva ekasmin dehe anekatmatve. So then what happens is, if there are so many atmas, that eyes also I am, ear also I am, etc., as many sense organs are there, as many atmas are there, because now the atma is identified with the ears and eyes, etc. अथवा एकस्मिन् देहे अनेकात्मकत्वे कदाचित् वैमत्य संभवात्. If there are so many atmas in one body, then there may be different opinion between them. Eyes say I want to see this, and ears I want to hear that, and legs I want to go front, and one leg say I want to go ahead, other leg says I want to go back. That's called vaimatya. So naturally, when there are more than one, then all these different opinions are going to be there, or likely to be there, should not say going to be there. Bhoga vyavastha anupattehe. Then you cannot experience or enjoy anything. Because one organ wants to eat, other organ says, I don't want to eat. One organ says, I want to sit, the fellow says, I want to stand up. One fellow wants to stand, the fellow wants to walk. So no bhoga vyavastha, no experience can take place. If there are more than one entities to decide what to experience, that will never happen. So you cannot say there are so many Atmas. So Anyatamo Vasmi, I am one of them. You can say. Not all of them, but one of them. Then which one? Or Indiyatama Indriya Sangharat Anyova. Am I one of them or am I different from them? Indriya Sanghatat Anyova, or am I different from the whole assembly of all the sense organs, group of sense organs? Tad Adhisthata Asmi, am I the Adhisthata, the substratum or the locus of all of them? If I am different from Yadi Anyatama Tari Saha Kava, then who is that? There are so many others. Antahkarana Pranadanyatamaha. Then am I the mind which is the adhishthanam of sense organs, or am I the prana? Because mind goes with all the sense organs, prana goes with all the sense organs. So am I that? Kimva tat sakshi tad vilakshanasva, or am I the sakshi of all of this, which is vilakshana, with all the nature that is quite contrary to the nature of all this? There are many and sakshi is one, and there are perishable, sakshi imperishable. So am I that? Iti vichare, this is how one should contemplate. Vichara phalam padartha vivekam kathayati. Vichara phalam, when you thus reflect in this manner, what happens? Padartha vivekam. Then you can do the viveka. Then you can separate the chaff, grain from the chaff, real from the unreal, or permanent from impermanent, self-existing and self-sufficient, self-shining from the others. Because they are all totally contrary things, they are mixed up. Satyam and Mithya are mixed up. Satyamrite mithuni krutya. Thus mithuni karanam. This is how the lumping together or uniting Satya and Anuta. Nobody can do that, but it's still being done. So Padartha Vivekam Satya is separated from Mithya or Anutam. So next one says, Vyastam naham samastam va bhutam indriyameva va jneyatvat karanatvat cha jnatanyosmat ghatadivat. Vyastam naham, I am not Vyasta, individual, any one of them. Samastam va, not I am the group of them all. Bhutam, I am not Vyastam bhutam, Vyastam indriyam, Samastam bhutam, Samastam indriyam, I am not. What? Gneyatvad, because they are Gneya. All bhutas are Gneya, mean object of knowledge. Karanatva, all the indriyas are Karana, the instruments. Who am I? Jnata I am. So Jnata is different from Gneya and Jnata is different from Karana. So Ghata is the Gneya and the eyes are the Karana and Ghataka Vritti also is Karana. Who am I? I am the knower of that Ghata. So knower is different from the known as well as the means of knowledge. Anyo asmad ghatadivat. So ghatadivat jneyatvat. And kutharavat karanatvat. That's how we have to say anyoham. And so the Tika says, Bhutam va, Indriyam va, Samastam, Vyastam va, Nahamasmi, Gneyatvat, Acetanatvat. All the bhutas are Gneya, objects of knowledge, Acetana, unconscious. All the Indriya, sense organs also, they show the sentiency because of the association of Atma by themselves, they are insentient also, Acetana. So I am not, one thing is that I am Chetana, I am conscious being, that is for sure. And the body is unconscious by itself, sense organs unconscious by themselves, therefore I cannot be that. Also Gneyatvad, why they are unconscious? Because they are object of knowledge, they are illumined. They are not self-shining. Consciousness is self-shining. They are not self-shining. If this Ghatapata was self-shining, then they will always impact upon you. They will always reveal before you, so you will know the whole world simultaneously if it was self-shining. But you don't thank God. So, in a way, Bhagavan has done a good job, Or will get crazy if they just, whether you like it or not, all the forms come to you, all the sounds come to you, but they are achetana. They cannot reveal themselves. They have to reveal through proper means of knowledge. So Gneyatvat, because Gneya, because object of knowledge, therefore achetana, therefore not self-shining, therefore paraprakasha, therefore jada or achetana, unconscious. Ghata adivata, like ghata. So all the elements, akashavayu, of which body is made, and all the organs of perception and action, all of them are Gneya. So karanatvat, kuthara adivati, yogam yogyam. So therefore, as far as the bhutas are concerned, Gneyatvat. As far as organs of perception and action are concerned, Karanatvat, because they are the instruments. Kuthara adivata, like kuthara, like an axe for a woodcutter. Yatha yogam yogyam. And so, because the verse says Gneyatvat, Karanatvat cha. So, Gneyatvam applies where? Bhutan. So, Bhutani Gneyatvat and Indriyani Karanatvat. Jnata Anya Asmad Ghatadivata. I am Jnata, therefore different from the Bhuta and the Karana. Tasmad Jnata Chetana, I am a conscious being. Both of them are achetana. The wood is the object and kuthara is the instrument, karana. Both are different from the woodcutter. Anya antahkarana pramanabhyo abhi acetanebhya iti. Include that also. Pranalibhya. So, although only bhutas and karanas are mentioned here, you should also add the antahkarana, because that is also karana. And prana also. So that is why the Tikakara included them, Anyatamaha, am I one of them or am I different from them and which one I am, etc. So Antahkarana Prana also is included. So that also I am not. Antahkarana also is Karana. And Prana also is like Kuthara, is also the tool with which you do things. Iti drashtru drashya anvyavyateka alochanena. That's true, drishya. The drishya keeps on changing, the drashta ever, drashta accompanies every drishya. Drishya keeps on changing, but drishya cannot be without the drashta. So anvaya vyatireka. The drishya is vyatiriktam, it keeps on changing, drashta is ever the same. Viveka karya ityartha, that's how viveka, this separation should be done. So that's how you contemplate upon the Atma. No, because habitually take myself to be a seer. Says no, seer involves the organ of seeing, that I cannot be. So remove organ of seeing from seer, then what remains is you. Sthuloham, fat I am, krashoham, lean I am. But the fat belongs to body, so remove that. Then what remains is you. So this is our vyatireka, anvaya vyatireka. That aham accompanies everything. All these fellows keep on changing. So what they change, just element remove them. Meaning give up identification with them. That's what it means. Idanim sakshi sakshya anvaya vyatireka alochanena. So you call it drashtru drushya anvaya vyatireka. Same thing as Sakshi and Sakshya. Sakshya means Drishya and Sakshya means Drashta, no difference. But anyway, Sakshi, Sakshya, Anvaya Vyatireka, similarly, the Sakshya keeps on changing, the Sakshi is ever the same. So where the Sakshya is not. Where the Sakshya is, that's also Vyatireka of Sakshya in Sakshi, Anvaya of Sakshi in Sakshya, meaning that Drashta is always there. But Drishti is not where the Drashta is. Iti Anvaya Vyatireka Alochanena. So that Alochanam. Avasthatra Vivekadvara Tat Sakshina Turiyasya Adhigama Prakaramaha. And therefore, and again, every notion about myself, the Sakshya and Sakshi are lumped together. And therefore, from every notion about myself, the Sakshya should be removed or separated. And I should recognize myself Sakshi, which will lead me to what? Sak Turiyasya. I am Turiya, the fourth sort of Adhigama Prakarama. So this, the Adhigama Prakara, the method of knowing Drashta was shown earlier. Now the method of knowing Sakshi is being shown in the next verses. Atmagnehi ityadina. So verse 21 says, Atmagnirindhana buddhi avidya kama karma vihi Dipita prajvalatyesha Dvarai shrotradivis sada. A beautiful rupakam is given here. So, as you will say, like a homa is taking place constantly. In homa, the elements are, one is the fuel and there is flame. So fuel is there and flame is there. So that is the imagery that is given here. Atma Agnehe, Atma is in the place of Agni. So Atma is Agni Sthaniha. Atma. Indhana Buddhi, Buddhi is Indhana Sthaniya. Indhana means fuel. So Atma is like fire and Buddhi is like fuel. Now what's happening? Buddhi avidya kama karma vihi buddhi dipita prajvalati. That buddhi is made to shine. Like the fuel or the wood is made to light up, is kindled. Similarly also, buddhi also is as though kindled. By what? Avidya kama karma vihi. So karma. So when given karma fructifies, then the buddhi is made to shine. The buddhi is made to go out basically. It is karma that propels the buddhi to go out and see an object, hear an object. So what's the reason why I feel I want to see something, I want to hear something, or how does the experience take place? The experience of seeing, hearing, eating, drinking, any experience that takes place. What is the reason for a given experience to take place at a given time? Karma. So karma is avidya, kama is involved, but basically karma is the most immediate reason. And karma is there because kamana is there, and kamana is there because avidya is there. So that is what pushes, that's what wakes up the buddhi, or lights up the buddhi, So therefore that avidya, kama, karma is like a breeze or like the wind. So Atma is like the Agni, Buddhi is like the wood, and you require the oxygen or the wind for that to turn into the flame, and that's what the avidya, kama, karma do. Isha prajvalati dipita. Therefore, made to shine is buddhi prajvalati. Buddhi is in the form of in the place of the wood or the fuel. So prajvalati, it burns. Esha dvarahi shrutradihi sada. So what is called the burning or lighting of the buddhi? When buddhi illumines an object. So buddhi running out through the gateway of the sense organ of perception, context and illumines an object. So buddhi also is illumined. So buddhi is illumined as ghatakara, patakara, mathakara. When buddhi reaches out, context is ghata, becomes ghatakara, so buddhi shines as ghatakara. Otherwise buddhi by itself is just formless. So this is what is happening in our simple day-to-day experience of perception. And that experience of perception is imagined here to be like a fire, like a homa taking place. In which there is fire, there is wood, there is wind, either you blow the wind or with a fan you fan it. And that's how the fuel lights up and illumines. Here it illumines objects. Buddhi lights up and illumines objects. That's how the illumination of the experience takes place. So this is simple, made very complicated, So tatraevam sati so this adhigama prakara, turiyasya adhigama prakaramaha, the prakaram, the method of adhigama, the knowledge of turiya is being stated, iti tatraevam ityatha praktanai shlokai, up to verses before 27. So tatraevam sati is verse 27. So for beginning from verse 26 to verse before 26. Praktana means verse before 26. So in the 6 verses, 21 to 26, this shloka, by this shloka, the turiyasya adhigama prakaramaha. That verse statement should have gone earlier, in fact. So in these 6 verses, the teacher shows the method of knowing turiya or atma by separating it from the sakshya in the 3 states of awareness. So explaining the verse Atma Agnehe Indhana Buddhi, so Tikakara explains Atma eva Agni. So fire in the form of Atma, not fire of Atma. Atma itself is fire. Because there is consciousness, it is always shining, it's always lighted up. To burn or to shine is the nature of Atma. Fire. So Atma is like fire, always shining as consciousness. Atma eva Agnihi, tasya indhana. Indha dhatu is there. So, therefore, indha in the sense of deepti. So, shine. So, indha means to burn or to shine. The indhana means fuel. Tasya indhana. So in the deeptau, idhyate, prakashyate, vyavahar yogya kriyate. In the form is idhyate. That is a passive. So made to burn or made to shine. So what is indhana? Idhyate anaya iti indhana. Idhyate anaya iti indhana. That's what the Tikakara says. So that by which something is kindled, idhyate kindle. Anaya, that by which something is kindled is indhana. That's how word indhana is used. That by which something is kindled is called indhanam. That's a fuel. So buddhi is kindled. Or Atma, Agni is also kindled, you can say. That which kindles the fire of Atma. So Atma is there in its own reality, in its own glory, is made active by buddhi. So buddhi as though kindles the fire of Atma. So idhyate, prakashyate, vyavahar yogya. Normally Atma doesn't do any vyavahara. Atma is made to do vyavahara by making drashta, shrota, manta. So Atma is made drashta, shrota, manta by buddhi. By hearing, buddhi hears and makes Atma hearer. Buddhi sees and makes Atma drashta. That's how buddhi, Atma is lying down, not sleeping but not doing anything, is brought into action by buddhi. So that is how you can say that the fire of Atma is as though kindled by buddhi. So buddhi is called the fuel or indhana. Buddhi. So what is meant by kindling Atma Agni? Atma Chaitanyasya Visheshakartaya Abhyakti Karanabhuta. Atma Chaitanya is nirvisha, is shining nirvisheshataya. Then Visheshakartaya, that Atma Chaitanya, the consciousness, nirvishesha or attributeless consciousness, assumes an attribute. What? As drashta, shrota, manta, vijnata. So Vishesha Akartaya Abhyakti Karanabhuta. Atma gets the Vishesha Akara drashta, shrota. Who does that? Buddhi does that. Buddhi sees and kindles Atma into a form of seer. Buddhi hears and kindles Atma in the form of hearer. Therefore, Vishesha Akara. Atma, which is Nirvikara, Nirakara, gets the Vishesha Akara, Drashta, Shrota, Manta on account of Buddhi, which kindles Atma in this form. But then when does it happen? Sa avidya kama karmavi deepita. What makes Buddhi do this? What prompts Buddhi to see and hear and create, or invoke the drashta, etc. from Atma? Sa avidya kama karmavi deepita uttejita. Buddhi itself also requires uttejana. Buddhi also made to do things. Otherwise, everything is, tamasic by nature, like as Newton says. Things will never move because that is the nature of things. Then you have to push. So motion can take place only when something is pushed. By itself the thing will not move. It will move only when something pushes it. So buddhi also needs to be pushed. Go and see. Go and hear. Who does it? Avidya kama karma. So avidya kama karma bhi deepita uttejita. So buddhi also is prompted, uttejita, is inspired, is also made to do things. How? Vayaneva agnistham indhanam. So there is this altar there is wood also is there, wood may be burning also, but the flame can be there only when there is wind. So buddhi has potential of burning, flame, the fire, the fuel. But that requires again the wind. So then the flame comes out. And when flame comes out, that fire gets a particular form. So fire is there, turned into a flame, and that is by the fuel which is prompted by the wind of avidya kama karma. So karma makes buddhi come on, go and see. So buddhi becomes active and sees things, and Atma is made active, becomes seer. So that's how things are happening. So vayuna iva agnistham indhanam. So avidya kama karma is the vayusthani nature, right? In the place of vayu. Agnistham indhanam. Indhanam, the fuel is, so Agni is in the indhanam. So admata sati prajvalati. And therefore, vayuna admata sati. So vayu in fact blows it, So like blowing a conch, And so prasak, like those blew the conch. So dva is the dhatu. And I is the upasarga. So blown or prompted. So admata sati. That vayu blows this buddhi, which is the fuel, and then becomes, therefore it starts burning, and it makes the fire of a nature of a certain flame. So potential of fire also is there, but it gets a form of a flame. That is done by the buddhi, that is done by the wood, which is indhanam. Indhanam is further prompted by the wind. That's how it starts burning. And the fire which is there in the fuel gets a particular form, flame. Prajvalati buddhi, prajvalati chaitanya grastataya prakashamana jayate. So as the buddhi arises, buddhi takes a form. like Ghatakara, Patakara, Shabdakara. Then Chaitanya Grastata. Immediately Chaitanya gets reflected, Chidabhasa takes place, and that's how Buddhi becomes enlivened. Prakashamana Jayate. So many things are involved. You require wind also, and then you also require the fire, because merely wind cannot do anything. The fire actually makes that wood shining or burning. So here also, when the Buddhi takes the form of Drashti, Shruti, Mati, then the Chidabhasa makes it, Prakashamana, Sati, Prakashamana, Jayate. So by the wind, the Buddhi takes the form of Ghatakara. And by the reflection of consciousness, then it becomes Prakashamana, and that's how the knowledge takes place, experience takes place. Avivyakta Agnina Dashyamanam Indhanam Iva. Just like the Agni becomes Abhivyakta. The Agni is there in Avyakta form in the Indhanam or in the fuel. That when the Agni becomes Abhivyakta, it becomes manifest, and then that Indhanam starts burning. So, Dashyamanam Indhanam Iva. So similarly also the fire which is Atma, it makes that Buddhi burning by being reflected in that, and that's how the Buddhi also becomes enlivened. Gavakshebhya nisrita dirgha prabhanyayana. Bring our attention back to how the perception takes place. So sometimes example is given that it is the flow of water which is flowing and taking the form of the garden, Here it is a ray coming from a Gavaksha. Gavaksha means an aperture. In dark room there is an aperture from which the sun ray comes. So aperture is called Gavaksha. Goaksha, like the eye of a cow, So that kind of aperture is there in the dark room in a wall, and from there the sunlight enters and the ray comes. And this is very long ray. So similarly, Gavakshebhya nisrita dirgha prabhanyayana, like the ray that emerges from an aperture. Shrotradihi dvarehi. So Shrotra, Chakshu, etc. becomes dvaram like Gavaksha. From there the consciousness, the mind with consciousness goes out with a long ray. And how long? Until the object is contacted. Nisrutasadi, saja prajvaladi, and that is how. So Buddhi is made to do this. The karma makes the Buddhi reach out from the Gavaksha or the aperture of sense organs and contact the sense object, take that form, and the consciousness Chidabhasa gets reflected, so Buddhi shines as an experience. This is the yojana. This is how the thing takes place. So why is this imagery? Atra, and the author himself is going to say that, the Tikakaya says that, Atra, Agni Indhana Dirupaka Nirdesha Prayojanam, this Rupaka or imaginary. Agni Indhana Dirupaka. So this Rupaka or imaginary form of the fire and the fuel is Prayojanam Vyavaharakale. So in short, a simple experience of seeing, hearing, that experiences take place. So Vishayagrahanasya, that's called Vishayagrahanam, the perception of sense objects. So when this normal thing takes place in our day-to-day life, I am seeing, hearing, thinking, talking, walking. Homa bhavana. You can look upon every experience of the homa and see how all the different elements of homa are functioning constantly. Then homatva bhavana. So you can entertain bhavana or attitude of homa in every experience taking place through the organs of perception, action, etc. And particularly organ of perception. Particularly the objects are perceived, their element, and so buddhi shines and makes the fire of Atma evident, So thus homa is taking place. So that bhavana, Bhavana is attitude. And so seeing that experience as a homa. And this is described elsewhere also, like Prashnopanishad and other places also, and also even Mundakopanishad also. So this image of homa is a very favorite imagery, I guess, of the Vedas. Because homa is the main theme of Veda. Yajna is the main theme, other things are all, not even Brahma Vidya. Basically, Veda is for yajna and homa. Then this came later on. I shouldn't say that, but anyway, so Veda means Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda means yajna. And therefore, that is the main theme of Veda. And that is the most pious action that Veda has given us. That's the way of worshipping Devatas, worshipping Ishvara in form of different Devatas. And so that was the first thing that was given, and that yajna was a very beautiful thing. We have a little booklet called Yajna. It shows how it in fact involves everything, and how that is how it influences the whole society. Anyway, tat phalam cha vishayesu asakti nivrittihi. Thus, when you interpret or see every experience of seeing, hearing, eating, drinking, etc. as a homa, then homa gives it the status of worship, becomes an act of worship. That means Devata comes in, Ishvara comes in, Swakarmanatmabhyarcha, then it becomes a worship of a Devata. In that case, the asakti will not be there, because now attention is not in the object, attention is in the Devata and the homa, and that is going there in the object. Therefore, the asakti toward the object doesn't take place. And of course, all the dosha nivaranam also takes place. That the author will say in his subsequent verse. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrahashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.